I'm Mikhail Kusnerovich, and I'm here. I actually abused my position being a member of the coordinating committee and being one of the founders of the Moscow School of Management, so I grabbed the microphone just to explain to you what's going on here. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, I belong to Bosco family. The family which has been taking care of its wonderful member of the family, who is Paul Smith. And I'm going to figure out if it will work or not, and I think it did. And since we are sitting here at the conference hall and not in Singapore room. So thank you for coming. And certainly you had some doubts, and you preferred first a smaller room, saying that the audience will not exceed 200 people. But as for me, even back in 1996, when I first heard Sir Paul, and I liked it very much, and I thought that we would better book the conference hall, the bigger room, and because I was certain it would be packed, and you know, it's really true, and there is a very interesting and the personality who is full of creativity. When I gave my conscious agreement to become a co-founder of the school, I was really dreaming of such encounters with such people as Paul Smith. So I fully realized that if such meetings would happen, then the Moscow School of Management would meet its purpose. And really, it's about leadership, it's about creativity. That's one thing. The other point is that, anyway, we were selling coats, and it's a great story, and we stay virtually on a daily basis contact, and it's about the pleasure in details, and it's about the thing that really it's worth tailoring things and wearing them. So we have Kindelov, who is the editor-in-chief of GQ magazine. Please come to the podium. So the first person I was talking about was Paul. Such a lovely man. And what would be a response of Tim Beloff? So we're waiting for your response. You see, it's because it's about journalism too. And to become more confident, I invited a graduate of the Skolkovo School, who is a great fan of Paul Smith's and Bosco family products and creations, rather. It is Alexei Bakov, so give the proper response. Okay, so those are the 3 or 4 guys. Somebody with beard, somebody with curly hair. So they're staying here on the stage right now, and I hope you will enjoy an hour with them. Done. Okay. Alexei will moderate the talk. Okay. Meet and really support him. Thank you, Mikhail. And I would like to invite you straight that we have not much time. because Paul will be rushing to the airport to fly to London. So I'm just giving you some idea about our schedule. It's good that 10 years ago, when the school was designed, so it's a dual anniversary, the 10 years of school and 10 years of Paul's boutique in Moscow. And Kim has not just accidentally come here. And we will divide the public talk into several parts. So Kim will ask Sir Paul Smith a number of questions which have already been moderated, and they came from social media, from JQ, from Skolkovsk. And then I will ask the floor to ask your questions. And I would like to tell you straight that virtually all the questions will not be unanswered, and Bosco will take care of them. And you may receive prizes for just a question asked and for the best question asked. So in my capacity, I'm turning the floor to Kim, and so the first part is starting.
Я рядом, если что.
Hi.
Hi, Paul.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Let's talk.
Well, when we were standing there on stage, I told you that you are doing great things. And you asked, and really you said, and it was very innocent look in your eyes. in that. So, like for GQ magazine, what we try to study is success. So my first question is, do you consider yourself a successful person?
I'm working on it. Yes, I hope I'm successful in the future when I grow up. I mean, it depends on how you see success. Is success a financial thing? Is success being on the earth and being happy every day? If that's success, I'm successful, because I'm a very happy man every day. I'm blessed with beautiful things like you guys out there, so thank you. So go on, ask me another question.
Have you been to every of your 500 stores around the world?
Yeah, every morning I have to vacuum, clean, every morning, every shop. Now, I've been to many of the shops. We sell Paul Smith in 73 countries around the world. We've got 250 shops in Japan. And, of course, we've got very nice shops here in Russia. And most of them I've been to. The interesting thing about Paul Smith is that, a lot of the big brands, every shop is the same around the world. And what I'm proud of is that all my shops have a different character. So we have 12 in-house architects who work very hard at making the shop in Los Angeles look different to the shop in Paris, et cetera, et cetera. So I think what we need in the world today, and I'm sure you all agree, is we need more individuality, because the world is becoming very homogenized, very similar. Globalization is creating the same everywhere we go in the world. So all you young designers out there, let's try and just change things a little bit and make the world an interesting place again.
Do you kind of approve every new store design in every
Absolutely.
New country?
Yeah, I approve every shop, every new store, and also I follow all the design process as well. So I have about 30 assistant designers. 30, about. I didn't count them, actually, but I think there's about 30. So we have about 15 designers which are designing textile, and then about 15 which is the actual clothes themselves. But of course, we make watches, spectacles, shoes, so many different divisions,
But speaking of the Russian store, what, in your opinion, is different in Russia from other countries?
We have a little sentence at Paul Smith, which is think global, act local. And so what we try to do, like the shop in Los Angeles, is bright pink against the blue sky. It's always very attractive. So the one in Moscow, in Red Square, in GUM, is a very traditional building. So I used mahogany wood interior, and then the changing room is in bright red, shiny to fit with the famous square called Red Square. So we try to always do something which is typical of the local feeling.
So you don't want to do like the Apple Store thing when you just put a UFO in the middle of the city?
I mean, what I absolutely do not want to do is the same. I understand about Apple. I understand about you know, the big brands, but I think my character is quite strong. So I like to think that everywhere you go, you get excited about going into a Paul Smith shop. So the one in London will be full of objects or furniture as well as clothes. And I like that a lot.
Were there any point in your career, in your life, where you started thinking, well, maybe it's all going more or less well?
Never. The thing about fashion...
When you opened your first store, when you started expanding...
Yeah. Well, I opened the first store, which I mean, many of the audience know that the first store was about this big. It was about this big. So it was very small, very, very small. It had no windows, and it was only open on Fridays and Saturdays. So it was a humble beginning. And so I'm always thinking about tomorrow. In fashion, you're only as good as today and tomorrow. Nobody cares how good you used to be. So you have to keep moving forward. So.
No, some brands do go ahead on the legacy, so it's not that.
Yeah.
Also, when you
they have, I mean, like Chanel or Dior or many of the brands where the original owner is no longer with us, then of course they have to reinvent. And as you know, often the designer is changing quite quickly. The CEO is changing quite quickly because they're always, you know, searching for the correct route for the legacy of the designer brand. But with Paul Smith, there's still Paul Smith. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah.
And speaking of that, I had a question in mind. In Russia, I think maybe it's growing trend in the IT industry in the West, but in Russia, we are scared of calling the companies in our own name.
Oh.
Yeah, in my opinion, I don't have statistics here, but in my opinion, the eponymous companies much rarer than in the West. So when you were starting the company, did you have any other options besides Paul Smith?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that. I've never had that question before. I called it Paul Smith because I was working as a shop assistant in a shop in my town. And a lot of people got to know me as Paul or Paul Smith. So when I just moved around the corner and opened my own little shop, it was very practical to call it Paul Smith because everybody knew it was me. And the other reason was then, during that time, which was about, I opened my first shop 108 years ago. So, yeah, it was a long time, It was a long time ago, and a lot of the shops were called, you know, crazy names like Birdcage or Doll's House or something. So by using your own name, it was a very practical thing. And then, of course, the famous signature,
handwritten,
using handwriting instead of using a graphic design logo. So I suppose, without realizing it, the company was very personal right from the beginning. Using handwriting, using my own name. I still work in the store on a Saturday. So if you come to Mayfair in London and see my shop on a Saturday afternoon, you'll often find me working there because I never forget who pays my wages. And the wages are paid by the customer.
Yeah.
So as soon as you become elitist and as soon as you think that having a front cover of a magazine or being in a TV movie pays the rent. It doesn't. It's just part of the process. So the important thing is keep your feet on the ground, and then you might have a long career.
Well, I think this is a very important lesson. I think we will,
Yeah.
we will close.
Thank you.
Okay. So, we're ready for the questions. Мы готовы к вопросам. Девочки, которые помогают, подходите к там приподнять руку, и чтобы я видел. Но у меня первый вопрос, Пол.
So my first question is like that. In social media, there was a great talk about your arrival. So I think the first question, with that great proposal, offer and charisma, with scaling about 500 stores and about 2,000 positions. So did they manage to retain that charisma? That's the question that have most of the entrepreneurs who are scaling their business. So let's start with this question.
So yeah, it's a big question. I think today everybody in this room, we're all on social media. We're all so full of information, and yet my life has always been about having a lovely day. Every day, keeping my feet on the ground, saying please, saying thank you, asking and not telling, enjoying the sunshine. I think it's possible to grow a business if you are relaxed. You need to be relaxed. You don't need to be under pressure, financial pressure. So when you grow your business, keep your overhead as small as you can and grow gradually. So many businesses now want to grow like a rocket too quickly. The pressure is enormous. So if the pressure is enormous, then most of the day you're like this because you're feeling sad. Whereas if you have, my wife and I started the business, as I told you, 108 years ago, and we just grew it like this. And we never borrowed any money, ever, which is pretty amazing. You couldn't lend me any money, could you? Yeah. So, of course, my particular way of working is quite old-fashioned, but there must be a middle ground between my way and the modern way. I think the thing is, just try and be, if you're relaxed. I have a friend who's a very good world champion cyclist, and last year he didn't have a good year because he was full of tension. And this year he was more relaxed. He was always smiling. He won a lot of races. So if you could be relaxed, you'll have a possibility of a good future.
That's a nice answer. Thank you. Так, у нас первый вопрос. Микрофон.
Let's take the first question. Speak into the mic, please. Okay, you, please.
Where are you?
Here.
Oh, hello,
Yeah.
hello.
Hi, my name is Vova. Do you know how many product lines or brands do you have right now, and which one is your favorite?
Can you please, можете повторить,
Да,
пожалуйста?
можно? На русском задайте, давайте вопрос.
It's my age, you know, I'm very old.
Сколько
At this point, my name is Vova, first of all. Currently, at this point, how many brands, product lines, and what are the favorites? Your first personal...
Other brands.
No, you're old.
My own brands. Up until last year, I had 7 different lines within Paul Smith. But now the way the world is going and changing so fast that we reduced down to just 2 lines. 2 lines for men, 2 lines for women. And that means that so many people are buying on the internet now. So it's a lot more focused, a lot more clear. So as I said earlier, you know, with fashion, you've never made it. So you always have to be changing, always moving, always doing something differently. And so Did that answer your question or not, Roman?
Half of it.
Half of it. Which half? The bottom? Or
First one.
Yeah.
No, may I?
Now, which one is your favorite right now?
What is like? What do you like work on most? Which line of yours? Is
Well,
your-
obviously we're quite famous for the suit, and so what's interesting, it's quite difficult to make a suit new and different, and so it's all about the finesse, the cut, the shape, the type of fabric. So I love the suit very much. We sell a lot of suits. Yeah, very.
do you mean travel suit?
Yeah,
or
the
like
travel
suits
suit.
in
Yeah,
general?
this travel suit.
The famous travel suit.
This is the travel suit. Do you know about this suit? So this suit is made from something called wool. Sean, am I allowed to do the sheep? Yeah. Yep. Oh, you don't want me. Oh, he tells me off because this is made from merino wool. Merino wool. Merino wool is a sheep which is very lovely sheep, and it's very like this. And under the sheep, he has very long hair. So like this. So because it has long hair, when you spin the yarn, it's very strong. So if you have short hair, you spin it and it breaks. If you have long hair, you spin it and it doesn't break. And then you weave it really tightly together, and then you have this. Yeah. So that's what you can do with the suit. Well done, Kim, for remembering that. I've forgotten.
Отлично. Так, еще один вопрос, мы потом продолжим блок. У нас здесь
Take another question, and then we'll continue with Kim.
I have a question. What motivates you to launch your own business?
Pardon, what was that?
What motivated you to launch your own
What
business?
motivation. What's your motivation?
You to
motivation?
start your own business.
What?
What made you start
Made me.
your own?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I think
and
I'm
what
going deaf. I'm
motivates
sorry.
you
It's all
every
the
day
flight.
to-
What made me? What gave me the energy? Yeah. What made me start my own business?
We
I'm
Yeah,
already,
and
we,
what-
we, we
yeah.
already know that you weren't in debt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true. I started my own business. Please sit down and relax. I told you I'm an English gentleman, see. I started my own business. I was working as a shop assistant. I mean, I'm sure you know this story, and I'll be quick. But, from the age of 12 until 18, I wanted to be a racing cyclist, a professional racing cyclist. After a bad crash, I discovered the world of creativity just by going to an English pub where the English pub happened to be full of students. Eventually, I met one of their teachers, and the teacher was called Pauline. She became my girlfriend, and she's now my wife. I married her in the year 2000. And I also got knighted by the Queen of England on the same day, so it was quite a busy day. Yeah. And she was the one that really said, you've got so much energy and you've got much enthusiasm and ideas. Why don't you start your own little shop? But we had no money at all. I mean, we had an income, but with no capital. So I had a Monday, which was my day off, free day. So I started doing freelance jobs, a stylist, a photographer. I take a lot of photographs, photography, and then eventually I earned a little bit of money, 600 English pounds. And then I started this small shop, as I described earlier, just 3 meters by 3 meters, which was only open on Fridays and Saturdays. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this is Thursday, I worked doing anything, and then on Friday and Saturday, I had my little shop. And so the key thing there was the purity of having the shop with no compromise, and then earning money through doing other things. So if any of you are starting your business, my advice is get the balance right between earning money and then purity, your dream. And then hopefully, eventually, they'll come together, and then dream will come true. A very long answer, but it was a good question.
Давайте, Ким, давайте продолжим с вопросами. Мы вернемся к вопросам, готовьте.
We will come back with the questions from the floor. But Kim, the floor is yours again.
One.
Yeah.
At this point, what do you do more, like creating or managing people?
Well, because I own the business, it's my business, and also, I have many hats, so I have the boss, designer, and maybe other hats. It's gone very dark out there, isn't it? Yeah. Is it 4 o'clock already? And now I'm more of a stylist. At the beginning I was a designer. So a designer means that you start with an empty sheet of paper and you have an idea in your head and your heart, and then you establish the idea. But now, because I have a big team, so my job is more directing. You should be working on this. We're doing floral prints. We're doing color here. And can you be working on a new shape? So, and then I have to obviously put my toe into business as well, which I'm not so good at, but luckily I have a good team. So I have 1,000 staff in Europe, 1,100 staff.
Not in the UK, but in Europe.
Yeah, in Europe, and then about 3,000 staff in Japan. So it's quite a big job all the time. But if you love your job, it's not a job. And if you can be relaxed, then you can be more productive. It's if you're nervous that it becomes a problem.
What was the biggest break of work you ever took?
The biggest break was never really, because it's always been a gentle. And you haven't made it yet. I'm still working on it. There was never a big break. There was never a big break because it's been such a gentle process. And I think I've been blessed with the fact that I'm self-financed. I'm at ease with life because I have a very beautiful wife that we've been together for many, many years. And so you're not searching for anything, you're very relaxed with life. And so there was never been this jump. I suppose probably in 1982, I was invited to go to Japan, and that was significant because I learned a lot from the Japanese work ethic. And also they used to have meetings, and I'd never had a meeting, and I thought maybe I should have a meeting. Yeah, because they were always having meetings. I'd just be going to the bathroom and then suddenly meet a member of staff and say, "Oh, shall we have a meeting?" Like on the landing, So they taught me about meetings, which I didn't know about before. But they're amazing. What was great about the Japanese is that they took a very long-term view. So for the first 5 years, for sure, they lost money with Paul Smith. The problem now is that, as I said earlier, everybody's looking for a return really quickly, very fast. So they expect everything to go quickly. And I can assure you right now, with the way the politics are of the world, the tragedies in the world, and the way the homogenized and globalization of the world, it won't work so quickly. It needs to take time. And if it works quickly, it probably won't have a long life. Maybe the only area would be IT, where there's a lot of quick success, but there's also enormous amount of failures, We never hear about the failures. We always hear about the successes.
Some colleagues of yours, there is a word that everyone loves these days is disruptors, the people who disrupt the industry.
Right.
We have a lot of changes in fashion these days.
Yep.
People people combine the men's and women's wear.
Yep.
People start selling items right after the show. What's your point of view on all this?
Well, I think because the world is so oversubscribed, there's a saturation of product in the world, not just fashion, of many products. And all you young entrepreneurs out there, please be mindful of the fact that the world is saturated. And so if you are starting a business of any sort, then you have to say, what is my point? What do I have to offer? why should anybody buy anything from me? Why will this work? So first of all, you need to know your trade really well. You need to understand, if you're in the magazine world, you need to know what's happening online, paper, newspaper. In fashion, you need to know what's going on. And so, of course, what's happening is a lot of the brands now are doing things where they try to sell directly from the catwalk. And many of those things will not last. They're just gimmicks, or they're just trials to try and get ahead of the next brand. And of course, one of the sad things now is sensationalism. That, you know, many people are looking for the big headline, the latest, did you know this designer has done that? But let's talk about them in 10 years' time and see if they're still around. And everybody in the audience, whether you're 18 or 80, you will all have known a rock band, a restaurant, a fashion designer that you loved 15 years ago that doesn't exist anymore because of not having all the ingredients and not having the cocktail of not just the design aspect, but the backup of good organized business, understanding quality, respecting the brand. And so it's always a cocktail of things that you need to think about.
Speaking of the team, who is the first person you are telling your all new ideas to?
He's at the front row here somewhere, Sean down there, yeah. And he's a good listener, and he likes my bad jokes. So what's the idea? To nod and laugh. Yeah, no. No, you see, he's doing it now. Yeah. I've got a, as I said earlier, I've got a big team, but of course Pauline is, the wonderful thing about Pauline is that she has her own life. You know, she dances, she's a painter, an artist. She
tells you, call me later, I'm busy.
She knows she doesn't have a mobile phone. She has no computer and no mobile phone. So that's interesting for a start. And then in our team, we have Sean, and then we have about 6 or 8 people where, you know, we have a lovely communication. It's not hierarchy. The Paul Smith structure is very unusual because normally the structure of most companies is like a triangle with a big boss, and then it filters down. Of course, we have bosses, financial director, managing director, me. But generally speaking, apart from the top, it's quite a flat structure. So therefore, everybody's able to contribute in the conversations, and we find that really works, you know.
Thanks. Alex?
Время вопросов.
You have to put this on again now.
Okay, so Q&A. And good afternoon, I'm Irina from Moscow. My question is as follows. When you change the design of your stores, what is the main idea, time or your spirit? And the second question, if I may, many people have a family business shared by wife and husband. In this respect, how do you manage to come to terms? Do you speak officially, formally when at work, or like at home? Thank you.
So does your wife say, Sir Paul?
No, when my wife says anything, I just say yes. Yeah. Actually, the interesting thing is that Pauline is not part of the business at all in any way now. She was at the beginning, and then in the early, after about 10 years, she decided to pursue her own love of the world of art. So she studied history of art, and then she went to art school to learn to paint, even though she was an established fashion designer. And she was my teacher at home, incidentally. So at home, we don't really talk about work, which is great. But what she's really good at is something she's read or something she's observed. And when she talks about that, often it really connects with with the world of commerce, which is fantastic. She's very good perception. So that's that. The other thing, the talk about the shop. With the shop, we try to make every shop individual, but it has to also be practical. So you have to think about very practical things. One of the things is that they must be hard wearing, so it mustn't chip, it mustn't break, because you get a lot of people, especially the shops in airports. So very practical. Also enough room for people to walk in with a buggy or something like that. So we have to work hard at making it practical, but of course attractive. And nearly all my shops have what we call art walls, which are walls full of pictures, but they're not elitist pictures. It could be a letter from a fan that's 8 years old, or it could be a very beautiful photograph by a famous photographer. So we try to put my personality into every shop. But a good question, and I like the color of your dress.
Следующий вопрос. Да, молодой.
Thank you, Paul, for visiting us. My name is Igor. Igor.
Oh, hi. Can see you now.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hello.
I am co-founder of 3Dware project, which is specializing on virtual dressing.
Silverware.
Virtual dressing. So you told about individuality. And I'd like to ask you for your opinion. Will it be helpful, interesting for people to have this ability to try to fit dress clothes online on themselves? And second question, do you work with such kind of projects?
So,
Можете
Можно по-русски, пожалуйста?
Нет, нет,
Хорошо, да.
Well, I'm a co-founder of the project which deals with virtual fitting. No,
yeah. I mean,
So, like, do you plan?
what's clear, my biggest shop in the world is online, my biggest shop. But in a way, that's, I understand it, because when you look at the traffic here in Moscow, then, you know, it's so much more sensible to buy online because you don't have to travel, et cetera, et cetera. But the joy of going in a shop, especially a Paul Smith shop, is trying it on, feel the texture. The hardest thing with online, for anybody who's got online, is how you get the character of your character or your product's character onto a screen. It's very difficult, isn't it? Because our shops are so full of joy and so interesting, but to get that online is a very hard thing. So I'm not convinced about whether you can do it successfully in terms of love and character, but you can do it practically. It definitely works, yeah. Sorry, did I answer the question or not really?
Do you work with such kind of project now?
Do you want to implement maybe virtual reality? Did you think about it?
Well, I mean, at the moment, our online is just sold by models wearing the clothes and then photographing the models. We found that works, but we haven't done anything else.
So no yet.
Yeah.
Окей, так, мы еще один вопрос здесь, и у нас будет последний раунд после...
we'll take one more question and there'll be the final round.
And as you can see, I'm a loyal customer of Paul Smith.
Oh, good. Hello. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And the quality of the clothes is perfect. But one question that the answer I couldn't get to is why socks are one size? I mean, it's such an important part.
Socks are one side.
I think my taxi just arrived. Bye. I've no idea. Have we got any socks?
That's a question,
Where
I
are
think.
they?
Give me socks, yeah?
Where are they? Here.
Here, Paul, I have it.
Here we are. Where are you? There's two sizes there.
Хорошо. Ким, давайте продолжим. И у нас...
Tim, let's go ahead with your talk.
I've only got these.
I was going to ask the final round. I was going to ask personal questions, but as far as I understand, the line between personal and business is pretty blurred in your with you. How do you sort this apart?
Well, in terms of my personal life, I am quite disciplined with it. I mean, in terms of business, we already know where I'm going to be in November next year already. Everything is so organized. But in terms of personal life, I always get home at 6 o'clock every night. But I do start at 6 o'clock in the morning. So my day normally is I swim every morning at 5 o'clock. I have done since 1992.
You have a pool at your house?
No, I go to the lake. No, not the lake. Sorry. No, I go
that would be great.
I go to the Royal Automobile Club in London.
Royal.
Yeah, it's just a club with a nice big pool, and it's on the way to work. So I go there around 5:15 every morning, and then I get to 6 o'clock in the morning. I arrive at work, which is fantastic because there's nobody there apart from the cleaning crew, and none of them speak English. So it's wonderful. So they can't talk to me. And then, which is true. Except that one morning I arrived and the fire alarm went off and I had to evacuate the building. They were going, sorry? I was going, like this, and I had to get them all out of the building. It took me forever. But anyway, so I get to work at 6 and I leave at 6. So Pauline always knows I'm going to be home at 6. I normally travel on a Wednesday, so that's why I was here last night. So she knows where she is. I always have my weekends free, apart from 2 hours in my Mayfair store when I work in the shop. So, personal life is quite disciplined. And then, of course, as a younger man, and we used to socialize a lot more. And now we prefer to just be
You mean
private.
drink?
Sorry, I can't hear you very well. We did used to enjoy a drink, that's true. So tonight I've got a date with Pauline. So we're going out, just the two of us tonight. And so, you can work it out. You have to be disciplined, but you do work it out. And of course, work is such a joy that it's not really like work. So I'm very blessed.
Are you a Manchester United fan?
Manchester United fan. Yes. We make all the suits for Manchester United.
Does it make you a Manchester United fan? Or
No, not at all. I hate them. No, I don't hate them. No, I'm from Nottingham, which is in the middle of England, so I'm a Nottingham Forest fan. I don't really know a lot about football. There's a new manager at Manchester United.
Jose
now.
Mourinho.
Mourinho, yeah. We had to shorten the trousers a lot for him. We had to make them quite short. He's quite short.
He's from Portugal. They love the shorter.
No.
The weather is hot there. You need to make a shorter.
Make them short.
Yeah. So, Brexit?
Brexit. I had cereal. Did you say Brexit?
Brexit.
Or breakfast? Sorry. I had fruits.
You may answer any.
Well, we've had a very interesting time. We've had Brexit and then we've had Mr. Trump. So a lot's going on in the world. So times they are a-changing, as Bob Dylan was singing out there earlier.
Do you follow politics?
No. I mean, I've worked with a lot of the English politicians over the years. I've worked with Blair, with Thatcher, with Cameron, but normally work with them on my passion about design and about making the British government, especially with Thatcher, that era, making the British government understand that design is not fanciful. It's not just about crazy things, but design is about all aspects of life. So it's about the fact that how you can hold a bottle, or how you design this, and how you design a chair, and whether it's comfortable. So I was always pushing the British government to take design more seriously because it can create jobs And it can change people's lives. And of course, what people forget about design is that it can be to do with people that have disabilities, it could be to do with turning a tap more easily or anything. So, you know, we should take design seriously, and it can create jobs and make life better.
Where do you draw your inspiration? Do you read? Do you watch movies, TV? Do you read books? Do you read non-fiction or fiction?
I can't read very well. It's true. It's true. I think I suffer from dyslexia, I think you call it. I can't even say it or spell it. So that's it. You know, I don't read very much. I've got a very short concentration span because my mind is very active all the time. So I'm a very visual person. So I take my inspiration from things here, like this. You know, this could be a print on a T-shirt. The color of the green and the brown together could be the stripe on a T-shirt. The smoothness of this table. So I just look at things and somehow I just find inspiration in them. So one of my little sentences is you can find inspiration in anything, and if you can't, please look again. And I think that's a good bit of advice. Please, please, please don't just go around copying what everybody else is doing, because if you're doing that, then you're buying yesterday's newspaper. It already exists. So try and think laterally, try and think more open. I'm a great believer in lateral thinking. So what does lateral thinking mean? It means if that's the obvious route, this is what this designer is doing, this is what this brand is doing, this is the app that's very successful. So you should know about it, but then also look left, look right, look left, look right of the obvious. And if you can do that, then you'll probably come up with a new idea.
So if you are copying not the yesterday's design, but the day before, the day before, the day before yesterday, does it count as a lateral thinking?
If you can take inspiration from the past, but give it a modern interpretation, that's not a problem. But please do not just literally copy, because it already exists.
Give some examples of what you call lateral thinking.
Well, for instance, if there's a current trend for something, if there's a current trend for flowers in fashion, flowers. So you think, well, right now there's flowers, but if I do flowers now, they won't be in the shop for 1 year's time, because I work 1 year in advance. So I might think, well, I love flowers, but what I could do flowers with photography. I could do flowers with drawing. I could do flowers with watercolor. I could do flowers that are this big or flowers that are this big. I could do flowers mixing a photograph and a drawing. So by just thinking, well, don't do it the obvious route, just what if, what if, what if. That's a really top tip.
Or the opposite direction, not flowers, but tanks.
Yeah, maybe not tanks, but flowers with tanks on them. Yeah.
Flowers with tanks.
Окей. Итак, вот молодой.
Okay, so Q&A.
Thank you for a huge energy. You told us about motivation, but entrepreneurs always talking about energy in their businesses. Where do you get it? From which sources?
This is really vodka, but not water.
This is not true.
And energy is about the love of life. The love of life. If you are at ease with life, and life is very short, so take it seriously, everybody, because it's short. So try and have a day. One beautiful sentence is, every day is a new beginning. So if you're having a bit of a down day today, just think, tomorrow's going to be great, and I'm going to think positively. And vodka, of course.
Think differently, think positively. Девушка.
Do you want some socks? They're very boring, they're just plain blue. Sorry about that.
Давайте, последний вопрос.
Hello, my name is Milana, and
Oh, hi.
hi. And the question is, if you have to describe your brand identity Do you consider yourself and your personality as the identity of the brand, or would you describe it otherwise, maybe?
Did you hear that?
Well, I'm not sure that I understand this question.
Можно по-русски еще раз, быстро?
The identity of
Okay, that's good. I get that.
Okay.
Well done. Do you want some socks? Good. Well caught.
That was the last one.
The identity of the brand is always been described as classic with a twist. So it means that you can wear the clothes easily. They're not complicated clothes, but they've always got a little sense of fun. So, for instance, you know this one. So you suddenly. So it's just always got a little bit of fun.
But would you say that you are the identity of your brand?
Well, I don't know. Am I classic with a twist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your sense of humor can be
I
identity.
am. I think I am, is your answer, yes.
And also, how involved are you in the designing the stores? And how do you decide which
У нас не беседа,
Very,
девушка.
very involved every
which
day.
part of Paul Smith is this store?
По одному вопросу, господа.
I am design. I
Да,
do design
давайте,
all
вот
the
два
stores.
молодых человека, и у нас очень мало времени. Можно коротко, без бесед?
Hi, my name is Sasha. I'm just 18 years old and I'm a student. My question is about the differences that you always talked about. You said that it's important not to be like others. And what advice can you give to people who are just wearing suits day by day? And what socks would you advise to Hillary Clinton for Donald Trump?
Okay.
Did you get all that?
What advice?
What advice you would give to the people in the suits?
In the suit?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with the suit is you can dress it down like this, or you could dress it up. So you could wear it with a white shirt, a tie, classic shoes. The great thing about the suit is in the beginning of my career, I made the suit in a different way. So my suit is very soft. It's very soft pad. And so it's a very comfortable suit. And before, when I first started, a suit was for funerals, weddings, or a job interview. And now you can wear it like this.
Okay.
So you can, the main thing about suits is you've got to wear it in your style, which is a good question.
And what socks you will recommend to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton?
I would say that they should have black socks.
Так, last question.
Oh, Sir Paul, hello. Thank you very much for being here with us. I'm sorry. I know for sure that kids do have the lateral thinking as much as the creativity, but as they grow older, somehow it goes away. What is your recommendation? How to keep this spirit? How to keep this creativity inside them? And perhaps, if you would allow, you talked about a lot about the need of the individuality. Yeah. And with that, do you consider to introduce in-store personalization? When people are coming to your stores around the globe, they may put something also person on your garments or on the stuff you sell.
Yeah, well, the thing about the thing about thinking laterally, and the thing about getting older is absolutely true. But if you can stay curious, and the great, I think it was Picasso said that he spent his whole life trying to continue to paint like a child. Because with children, they have very open minds. They're not cluttered with education. They're not cluttered with history or experience. So if you can have this openness and be curious, so why is that like this? And why did they decide to do that? And what's that about? And then that way, you'll start to discover new ways. So try and keep a childlike, not childish, childlike way of being, and then you might be okay. As this gentleman's here been asking, look, yeah.
Okay, fast.
He's been good. We have to be quick though, because I have to catch an airplane. Yeah.
Всем привет. Слушайте, все вопросы уже задали, поэтому...
All the questions have been asked already, so I'll be very brief. For a year, I'll be trying to find a coat from a winter and autumn collection of 2015. Can you help me?
Okay, Paul, we have 3 prizes for 3 best questions from Bosco Gentiliadze and Paul Smith. This is very, это
Wow.
Yes,
This is
special prize. Yeah.
The,
So choose 3 questions from that.
The special limited edition.
Limited edition one.
There
Yeah.
was the lady in the red.
Окей.
the pink-
Елена, мне кажется,
And
да?
then this one here, where the lateral thinking gentleman.
The gentleman.
Yeah.
Да,
yeah.
вот молодой человек в очках, да, с вопросом
Behind.
про
Yeah.
детей и индивидуальность, да, keeping the individuality.
And then what was the other one? Oh my gosh. No, I don't like you. You're only joking, only joking. Do we have any socks left? We could give him some socks. Yeah. There we are, darling. The lady in the nice coloured dress.
Итак, Боско Читиледжи, школа...
The Skolkovo School presents you with that.
The symbol of Skolkovo is apple, but full.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Спасибо!
Bye. See you.
Thank you.
Well done, mate. You are fantastic. Thank you, sir. Thank you.